The intercom crackled just as the aircraft lurched, sending coffee into the aisle and prayers into the cabin air. Ladies and gentlemen, we need immediate assistance. Anyone with military or helicopter flight experience, please identify yourself. Thunder rolled against the fuselage like fists on a locked door. Row numbers glowed through flickering cabin lights. A man in seat 38C, shaggy hair, unkempt beard, thrift store jacket too thin for the airplane's chill, lifted his head. For a heartbeat, he didn't move. Then the Boeing 737 dropped again, oxygen masks trembling in their panels, and somewhere a child started to cry for her father, who wasn't there. Marcus Sullivan hadn't planned to be on any plane, much less this one that clawed at black weather over the Cascades. That morning, a ferry worker from a charity he'd once helped at a shelter had pressed an unused voucher into his palm. It expires tonight. If you can get to Seattle, there's work waiting. The worker's eyes were kind, the sort that noticed what others refused to see. Marcus stowed his pack under the seat and folded it on himself, invisible on purpose. Now the intercom begged again. Any helicopter pilot, Coast Guard, anyone, the cabin tilted, lights guttering. A man in first class, the sort of suit that costs more than apartments, half stood and announced, "I've flown dozens of times in corporate jets. I can help." A flight attendant sprinted to him, voice tight. "Sir, we need military experience," he puffed. "Flying is flying." Another jolt cut him off, slamming luggage doors with metallic screams. Marcus swallowed hard. He did not want to stand. He did not want to remember. He did not want to explain why his hands, though chapped and dirty, still held the muscle memory of collective pitch and cyclic controls, of checklists whispered in salt spray and rotor wash. "Please," the intercom pleaded, thinner now, almost young. "Captain Rodriguez is unconscious. First Officer Kim is alone." Ice through plastic cups like confetti. A woman crossed herself, lips moving. A teenager recorded everything with shaking hands. Marcus closed his eyes and saw a different cockpit, a different storm, a Pacific rescue that raged like hell itself. He promised himself no more flying, no more ghosts. Then another drop yanked the promise out of him. He unbuckled. The seatbelt sign flared red. He ignored it. Someone hissed, "Sit down." Marcus stood anyway, knees steady, heart hammering a remembered rhythm as he moved up the aisle. Faces tracked him with disbelief. His coat was stained, his boots too scuffed for any gate lounge, beard gray in a way that could be salt or years. The first-class man barked back at the bus. A flight attendant stepped between them, eyes not unkind. "Sir, do you have relevant experience?" Marcus kept his voice low to keep it from shaking. "Coast Guard HH-65 Dolphin, search and rescue, years ago." She studied him for a beat that stretched. Another shudder rattled the overhead bins. "Come with me," she said, then to her credit. "Hurry," the aisle made a path. Behind the reinforced door, the cockpit was a narrow world of alarms and rain night. First Officer Kim looked barely 30, sweat bright on a young face. Captain Rodriguez slumped, masked his mouth, eyelids fluttering. Stroke, maybe seizure. Kim stammered, "I can't raise Seattle Center. Ice is blocking our signals. I've never." Marcus's hands found the back of the captain's seat like a man who had been here yesterday, not a lifetime ago. "First breathe," he told Kim, voice flattening into instruction. "Then tell me what you've got." Kim gulped air, glanced at the panels. Mach .79, 370, crosswind shear, severe icing. "Okay," Marcus said softly. He reached without thinking, silencing a non-critical chime. "We're not beating this ice storm. We're going through and down." Kim blinked, startled by the comm. "Through." Marcus pointed. "That gap. See the echo break between cells. It won't last. We take it now, or we get torn up worse." Kim hesitated, then nodded because the voice beside him sounded like it could see wind. Marcus's fingers hovered near controls, but didn't touch. "You fly, I'll call it." He leaned closer, eyes scanning instruments like old friends. "Small inputs. Keep the nose honest. Don't wrestle." In the cabin, the intercom steadied. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have assistants in the cockpit. Please remain seated." People exhaled in uneasy unison, as if one lung fed the flight. Some prayed louder. The first-class man muttered, "We're done if the hobo's at the wheel." Too softly for the crew. Too loudly for decency. A child's voice piped. "Is he a hero?" A mother shushed with tears in her eyes. Somewhere near row 23, an elderly woman closed her eyes and remembered her own war. Ration books, telegrams, a knock at the door, she whispered. God uses strange messengers. Kim's hands shook less as seconds gathered. Seattle Center won't hear us, he said. Satcom's noisy. Marcus nodded. Storm's eating your radios. Try guard frequency. If not, relay through another bird. Kim tried, got static, tried again. Got a faint voice that drowned in thunder. Okay, Marcus said, head tilted as if feeling currents through steel. We'll do this silent. He scanned fuel flight plan nearest alternates. Spokane, Portland, Vancouver if we must. We'll get lower below the worst of the ice, then talk. Kim Sugalovit. You sure? Marcus almost smiled. I used to be. Tonight, I'll settle for capable. Another hard bump rattled Rodriguez's oxygen mask. Marcus checked him quickly. Not quite gentle, not quite rough. Pulse is there. Keep him warm. He stripped off his own jacket and spread it over Rodriguez's knees without ceremony. Kim stared. You don't. He's the one who lands us if I'm wrong, Marcus said. Let's not tempt fate. Through the windscreen, a wall of gray ice stretched itself more gray. Still lightning spidered the horizon in white bones. All right, Marcus murmured. Left 5 now. Trim 2 down. Let ride. The aircraft sighed. Obeyed. Disliked it. Obeyed again. Memory worked like a lantern. Marcus remembered midnights pulling fishermen from the Strait of Juan de Fuca in sleet, the dolphin shuddering as teeth chattered in loose coffee cups. He remembered an instructor with tobacco breath that smelt like burnt rope. Fly the aircraft, son, not the weather. He remembered a rescue that went wrong in waters so cold it bleached color out of courage. He has sworn he was done. He has sworn the sky could have its storms without him. But the sky had a way of finding him in grocery store lines and soup kitchens. And now here, Marcus sat quietly. Watch the pitch. Don't chase the airspeed. Let it come to you. Kim nodded, absorb it. A man borrowing steadiness. You're a Coast Guard, he asked, conversational out of need, not curiosity. Yes, sir, Marcus said. He didn't add that he'd been medicaled out for reasons that were chemical and grief-shaped, that a bottle had his wings in it for a while, that walking back from that grave had taken longer than learning to fly. In the mirror of a dark window, his beard made him look older than he was. The airplane didn't care. It wanted hands that knew. They found the gap. It wasn't a door so much as a thinner patch in the wall, a place choked gray instead of charcoal. Kim floated them into it, the yolk alive in his palms. The air calmed by degrees, so incremental only people who had been afraid for a long time could feel them. Marcus exhaled. Good, he said. Now, down 1,000, slow, to 280 knots. Let's taste the layer beneath. We'll ice up, Kim warned. We'll watch it and go through fast, Marcus countered. Think knife, not spoon. Kim cracked an unwilling smile. You talk like my old chief. Ice curled like sugar on the wipers, then shed in a glittering shrug as they slipped between altitudes. Radios cleared enough to stutter. Flight level 280. Severe icing. And then died into needles against tin again. Marcus took a breath. He hadn't known he was rationing. We're okay. Take a long minute. Checklists. Kim's hands were steadier now. He flipped pages called items, answered them himself. Voice evening out like a tide. Marcus's eyes never left the glass. If we bounce, ride it. If we drop, ease it. If we climb, forgive it. Kim almost laughed. You teach. Not lately. In the cabin, the first-class man's wife touched his sleeve. Robert, she whispered, not unkindly. Maybe sit. He did, scowling. Anger a mask for fear. A flight attendant knelt by a boy with big eyes and promised. Pilots are very brave people. The boy said solemnly. The homeless man is brave, too. She smiled through the ache in her throat. Yes, he is. The plane shivered like a horse shaking off flies. Someone started a hymn too softly to be heard by anyone but the seatmate who joined in. Two thin voices threading faith through recycled air. Kim glanced sideways. How'd you end up on this flight? Marcus's mouth tugged. Voucher, he said. Someone kind had one they couldn't use. He didn't add that he'd almost given it away twice to a woman with a baby who'd missed check-in, to a man whose hand shook like his had once shaken. He didn't add that he'd almost torn it up at the door, spooked by the carpet and the polished shoes and the way gate agents speak in practice smiles. You, he asked. Kim blinked. Orders, he said, and looked 20 instead of 30 for a second. They broke the worst of it like a swimmer finding a calmer layer. Rain still marched against them, bass drum on aluminum skin, but the fists weren't as hard. Kim's shoulders dropped an inch. Thank you, he said, sudden and naked. Marcus shook his head. Thank the wind for yawning. A different light, far-off amber, not lightning, hinted at air traffic where order existed. We'll hear someone soon, Marcus said. When we do, you talk. You're the pilot. I'm a rumor. Kim Sugalowit. Sir, don't sir me, Marcus said. Not harsh, just tired. I'm just the guy who didn't stay seated. Rodriguez stirred, a small sound under the hiss of conditioned air. Kim leaned over, relief softening him. Captain, he called. A flutter of lashes, a groan. Marcus watched the man's chest rise. He'll be groggy. Keep him on oxygen. The radio crackled clearer now, a controller's voice cutting through beef-up static. Say call sign. Say intentions. Kim grabbed it like a rope. Seattle Center. This is United 847. Captain incapacitated. Request vectors and priority descent. The controller took one beat too long to answer. United 847. Stand by. Here's where we earn the seat. Marcus murmured to no one. He nodded toward a gap in the scrawl of weather on the scope. Ask for that corridor. We'll take a stair-step down. Watch the temps. Kim relayed. Got approval. Nudge them lower. Frost laced at the window edge. The melted away in little rivers that made night streak. Marcus had not wanted to be kneaded again. The kneading had a way of burning holes in a man. But as the altimeter unwound and the air softened, he found an old terrible joy waking up the joy of bringing people home. In row 38C, Marcus's empty seat still held the shape of him, a flattened pillow, a cheap paperback with a folded corner, a plastic cup with water he had sipped like it was a promise. Passengers craned for news no bulletin could give, measuring hope by the tremor in the floor and the tone of a voice they couldn't hear. Up front, Marcus rested one hand on the seat back, steady as a nail pounded into an old beam. One more gap left, he told Kim. Then we're through, and the ground will start to believe in us again. The plane listened and obeyed. Seattle Center's voice steadied like a hand on a shoulder, vectoring United 847 toward a thinner band of weather while the altimeter unwound in disciplined clicks. Descend and maintain 240. Expect further. Kim read it back. Voice still a shade high, but under control now, riding the trim like it was a living thing instead of a rebellious one. Marcus watched the tapes and needles settle. Then the horizon black on black find a cleaner edge. Seattle's lights woke out of mist in a marching line. Got them, Kim said. Not a shout, not a whisper. A statement a man makes when he recognizes a friend he thought he'd lost. Keep the correction, Marcus said. Winds right to left. Don't fight it. Lean with it. Small, small. Rodriguez handled radios like a maestro now. Energy back enough to carry the dance. United 847 cleared to land runway 16 right. He read it back and wanted to add, thank you. But professionalism wears a plain suit when it's working right. The flare was not art. It was honest. Wheels kissed wet asphalt with that shy, hopeful thump that tells you rubber has met a promise. Reverse roared. Spoilers shrugged up. The airplane settled like a big animal finding grass after rock. Kim's laugh burst out half sob, half joy, then strangled itself because professionals don't whoop on frequency. Welcome back, Marcus said, and it wasn't to the jet. They rolled clear. United 847 turned left at Charlie. Contact ground. Rodriguez took radios without being asked. Voice rich again. Kim taxi with care. Every light a star, every painted line of him.